Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to our webinar on responding to the current coronavirus pandemic and the financial support that's available to social businesses at the moment. This is our as live version of it. The main webinar itself, we were doing it 30 p.m. So this is our run through, but it's also our opportunity to have something to put up online if things do, for any reason, go wrong later on. I've been asked to let you know that we won't actually be taking any questions during the webinar as we have a limited amount of time. However, please do submit any generic questions you have via the comments box, which you should see an icon for that at the bottom of your screen. Please bear in mind with that everybody will be able to see those comments. So anything very, very specific, I'd ask you to email it to sbwinquiries@wales.coop and limit your questions on your comments to generic questions. What we're hoping to do is compile a Q&A that we can then put up on our website then afterwards. So we're recording this presentation. We'll be publishing links to it on www.wales.coop/COVID-19 as soon as possible. We're also going to publish this PowerPoint presentation on the same page. So you'll find that there's a lot of links on this presentation, and obviously we'll be going through this very quickly, but this will be downloadable directly off the website as soon as this presentation is finished. So my name is David Madge. I'm a project manager on Social Business Wales, and I'm going to be presenting this webinar with my colleague Joelle Campbell, who is a market development advisor, and many of you will already know as from being a business advisor in the South East in the Valleys area. We're going to be joined by Alan Jones from Social Investment Cymru and WCVA. Again, most of you will probably already know Alan. But first I'm going to hand over to our Director of Enterprise, Glenn, who hopefully should be unmuted.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Hopefully you can all hear me. So as Dave said, my name's Glenn. I'm the Director of Enterprise here at the Wales Cooperative Centre, and I head up the Social Business Wales team. Firstly, thanks to all the team that's reacted very quickly to allow us to get to this stage of developing one of our first webinars within the COVID-19 crisis. And thanks to you as well for joining us here today. I know how difficult a time it is for us all. So firstly, hope you're all okay and you're doing well. We've all got worries at home and obviously trying to keep our businesses afloat, and we are acutely aware of the stresses you all feel. Here at the Wales Co-op Centre, we've reacted quickly to get us all home working, and we've been all home working since last Tuesday. And we've changed the way we work to effectively do everything online. So any help you need, just give us a call. All our business advisors are reachable at home and can talk to you via the phone or through video conferencing, although obviously we won't be able to have one-to-one face meetings for some time. But please bear in mind we are here, and come and talk to us and any help you need, and we will do our utmost to support you in these trying times. The other thing to be aware of is that events are changing on an hourly basis. I'm sure you are all aware. And the stuff we're going to be talking about today could well be out of date or changed by tomorrow. So please check into the Wales Co-op Centre COVID-19 webpage. We update anything that we know, we get on that page straight away. So any new updates will be there for you to look at as they happen. The other thing of note is that on Tuesday, there was a ministerial announcement, a joint ministerial announcement from Rebecca Evans, Minister of Finance, and from Ken Skates, our Economy Minister, saying that Welsh Government are working hard. There will be further support to follow when they know what gaps there are in terms of the Westminster support, and support for social enterprises and charities was specifically mentioned. So we can only assume that further support will be forthcoming, and hopefully Alan will be able to give us the most up-to-date support in terms of social loans when he speaks. So just thanks from myself, and keep safe everyone, and I'm going to hand back over now to Dave and Joelle. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Glenn. I'm going to start with just some very useful links. I'm sure most of you will have already used these, but I just want to highlight that these are the links that we're going back to on a daily basis. The Wales Cooperative Centre link Glenn's already mentioned. We have information on our Social Business Wales website. The Business Wales itself website is very, very helpful. Welsh Government and UK Government have specific resources around some of the things that they've been doing. And obviously for updates about about health issues around the coronavirus itself, then Public Health Wales has got a lot of information on that. I'm going to hand over to Joelle, who's going to talk about cash flow initially.
Right, hi everyone. As you probably already know, cash flow is key at any time, but in these uncertain times, it really is important that every organisation is just aware of what they need to pay, who owes you money and what you owe, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to identify where the gaps are going to be and when they're going to come in. So it's important that in these times where everything seems out of control, that our social businesses actually take control of being proactive, looking at their cash flow, identifying the gaps and stress testing those to see what it's going to be like in 3, 6, 9, 12 months. There are lots of tools and resources, and we are here to help as well. So I've actually highlighted on the screen support for cash flow forecasting, and we have actually also put together a business checklist. Another thing to think about as we move on is insurances. So most of us have insurances, but this is where we need to look at what our policies actually cover. It's very unlikely that we're going to be able to cover COVID-19, but some policies will actually cover unnamed, unspecified notifiable diseases, and this could cover you for the cost of closure. It could cover you for cancelling events. So what we would really recommend is that as organisations, you actually check your terms and conditions and go back to your insurance companies and brokers just to find out if there is any options for you to make claims under those policies. I'm going to hand back over to Dave now, who's going to do a little bit of talk. We'll do it together on what supports out there from UK government and Welsh government initiatives. So Dave.
Okay, thanks, Joelle. So the first two elements we're going to be looking at are the Welsh Government initiatives. This is the rate relief initiative. The aim of this is to give a one-year rate relief to specific types of businesses to help them with their cash flow. At the moment, that is limited to only 3 sectors: retail, leisure, and hospitality. That may change at the moment, and it's worth keeping an eye on this, but at the moment, it is just for those 3 sectors. But they will pay; those sectors will pay no business rates for the 2020-21 period. As we understand it at the moment, this will be administered locally for the business rate sections of the local authority. There shouldn't be any need to apply. It should be automatic, and they should be contacting you. So keep an eye out for developments with this, and also keep an eye out in case new sectors are added under the scheme. We certainly hope that they will be. Following on that, there are some grants available again to retail, leisure and hospitality businesses. Effectively, it's a cash injection which is designed to help with cash flow. It's based on rateable value, so where businesses have a rateable value of between £12,001 and £51,000, a grant is available of £25,000. All small businesses with a rateable value of £12,000 or less are already eligible for small business rates relief, can also get £10,000. But there is a caveat with that. There is a multiple property restriction which applies to businesses that are already getting small business rates relief. That also applies to this grant, so be aware of that if you've got 2 or more properties. Again, the eligibility is the same at the moment, so it's small businesses and then businesses in retail, leisure and hospitality. This is going to be administered through the business rate system of the local authority. Looking for this yesterday, I was under the impression initially that this would be automatic. This has changed just in the last sort of 24 hours or so. If you look at Business Wales, the link there, the COVID-19 grants, that will take you to links to each of the individual local authorities where they're actually asking you for a certain amount of information to be able to draw down this grant. I had a quick look at the Swansea one. That just happens to be where I live. The information they're looking for isn't too onerous, to be honest. It's things about your business address, about your company number, that sort of thing. Have a look at it. Not all of the local authorities, last time I looked, had information up and running. It was obviously very, very new. I'd say about half of them did at the time. But obviously, if your local authority didn't have it, it probably will have within the next day or so. So keep checking back to that one. Joelle.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the coronavirus job retention scheme, which was announced last week and was really welcomed by lots of organisations. We are expecting a similar one to be put forward today, covering people who are self-employed. So watch this space for that. So in relation to this scheme as we know it, it has received a lot of publicity, but one thing that people need to be aware of is that it will only cover, at the moment, people who are being paid through the PAYE system. So it'll only cover your employees if they are on that PAYE system. Obviously, it's going to provide up to 80% of wages for those employees who've had to be furloughed. Now, this is a term that lots of people are questioning and asking, what does it actually mean? We are developing further guidance, and we're hoping to put together another webinar specifically around this with HR support. So watch our space and watch our website for more information as we develop that. It isn't clear at the moment if this scheme, the 80%, will include national insurance and pension contributions. So again, there's lots of things still being developed. The HMRC portal hasn't been developed yet, and we have been told that there are really long queues, up to 10 hours on HMRC hotline. So a bit of patience as new information comes out. I think keeping up to date with the websites and looking out for briefings like this will probably be a much easier way. So the scheme is quite straightforward to understand if you have to close your doors and stop trading for a temporary period because of COVID-19. In this instance, it's saying that you have to put all your employees on furlough, and you need to make that application to HMRC. You do need to have an audit trail as a company of the actions that you've taken, and you need to at least be able to show a contract variation letter, because HR systems will come into play then. So that's why we're developing the extra support. When it gets a little bit complicated is if you're running a business and you've got multi-levels to your business, multi-income streams. So it could be that you've got a service level agreement, but you've also got elements of trading. Some employees are funded, others are through your trading income. This is where you have to try and identify which employees come under which and which ones need to be furloughed. So as I say, things are being developed, and HMRC are aiming to get their system up and running by the end of April and beginning of May. So you will have to think as well about how you're going to finance this and cash flow, because it's going to be that you claim this back in arrears. So businesses are still going to have to cover wages up until possibly April or May. So it may be that you need to look at short-term borrowing, increasing overdrafts, or looking at temporary loans. So the next thing that we're going to go on and talk about, which again has received a lot of publicity, is the statutory sick pay, which was welcomed as offering employees up to 2 weeks statutory sick pay if they've got to go off due to COVID-19. Again, it's going to be reimbursed through HMRC, and their systems aren't up and running yet. They're developing those behind the scenes, and it's only eligible for people with less than 250 employees, which will be most of you really. There isn't a responsibility for you to provide sick notes as part of this scheme. Now, having said that, some employers do have to keep evidence, an audit trail of which employees are off and their absence periods, but sick notes will not be issued by GPs. Obviously, the NHS is under enormous strain at the moment. So with the number of people that will be needing to isolate, they just don't have the capacity. So if you need to self-isolate, then people can actually contact 111, or they can log on to the NHS website and download an isolation note for if they've got to self-isolate because someone they live with is showing symptoms. So that's the statutory sick. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the business interruption loan. Now this went live on Monday. It's been referred to as CIBIL. So if you hear that, I don't think there's an extra person in the room. This is this scheme. The idea is that it's here to provide working capital to organisations who really need it. It's going to offer up to £5 million over a 1 to 6 year term. And as part of the scheme, the government will cover all interest payments and fees for the first 12 months. There won't be any early repayment fees at all, and the government is going to offer an 80% guarantee to lenders. Now, the eligibility for this is really, really important. So you have to be a UK business based, obviously in the UK, and it's only for organisations up to a turnover of 45 million. It's got to be used for business purposes only, and you have to prove as part of that application process that your business has been affected and the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak. And you've really got to show with your cash flow, and that's why cash flow is key really. You've got to show the impact of the outbreak and how it's negatively affecting your cash flow. It can only be used to support businesses which are trading in the UK, so UK trade. It can't be used to prop up support elsewhere. Now, this is the thing that's really important, this last part around, is only organisations have to be able to generate 50% of their income through trading to be able to apply. So this could be a real sticking point for a lot of our bigger charities and organisations who've trading arms or are grant dependent or have lots of income coming in through that way. To apply, there are a number of banks, we've included the link here, there are a number of banks who are pre-approved to offer this loan. Again, they're expecting unprecedented demand, so they are saying that they're going to be dealing with organisations who've got the demand now and need to get cash flow into their business now. So it may be that organisations are put out and left to wait. So that's the Sybil scheme. There are lots and lots of information online, so what I'd really recommend is that you just use our links and find more information. So back to Dave.
Okay, thanks, Joelle. I'm going to talk very briefly now about local government support. As you can see, local authorities are going to be asked, or being asked, to play a big role in the rollout of the governmental support. Some local authorities are also looking at developing localised support in response to the outbreak. So we just think it's really worth connecting with your local economic development department and keeping up to date with development in your area. So the next couple of pages are there for your reference, really. The most recent business pages linked to COVID-19 for each of the local authorities. As I think I mentioned earlier on, we're going to be putting this information online as soon as this webinar is finished. So I've run through that very quickly, just so that you know that it's there, really. So now it's time to introduce Alan from Social Investment Cymru, who can talk to us a little bit about the support that the WCVA is administering.
Thanks, Dave. So part of this is going to be, you heard it here first, it comes with a caveat that much of what I'm going to tell you still hasn't been formally announced, but it's worth sharing with you to know what's on its way. So if we start with what Joelle was talking about with the coronavirus job retention scheme, we recognise with that there's nothing in place at the moment to apply for or apply into. So the government have said that they aim to have it online and available by the end of April. Okay, so that aim, I would suspect, is probably subject to some slippage. And if you then think about it, there will be salaries to pay for March, for April, and if you've got an early payroll run, a May salary, and if there is much slippage, it could even be into June. So we've recognised that there's a cash flow need there for bridging that support. So we hope that this week, this is the thing that's been furthest advanced. We hope that this will be announced this week for a bridging loan scheme to enable people to borrow the money to pay the 80% and then use the money when they get it from government to pay the loan back. So that's the first thing. So hopefully that will enable us to get cash into the system sooner than otherwise might be the case. Behind the scenes as well, there's been significant progress on a larger support fund, which will be blended largely grant, but an element of repayable assistance within it, which will be available to be used for essentially anything else. That is still awaiting formal approval, and Welsh Government are waiting on UK Government confirming the availability of funds. So that is a little way behind, but we are again hopeful that that will get announced next week. Forgive me, we're still a bit light on detail on some of this, but that will creep out now, or will rush out over the next few days. What the point would make is that they are going to be relatively limited pots, and we do expect quite high demand for them. It's worth recognising that it won't be possible to do 100% of everybody's needs, so there's going to be an element of trust in applying for what you really need. And remember, the use of reserves. You know, that we all have reserves policies for a rainy day. This is the rainy day. So we will be expecting within these that people are evidencing how they are using other support, other funds that are available, their own reserves, to pull everything together so that we can make sure that we can support as many organisations as possible. Recognise that, you know, straight loans are not necessarily the most appropriate things for organisations to be taking, especially given the open-ended nature of what we've got here. But suffice to say, there's a lot of work been going on, and if you watch this space over the course of the next few days, there will be some more positive announcements coming. Back to you, Dave.
Oh, thanks, Alan. That's really, really great news. Thanks again for sharing that with us. Okay, I'm just going to talk very briefly now about sort of more general finance provider support. The one thing that's really struck me well in doing our research for all of this is that whenever you look at a bank or a social investor, they're all looking at ways to actually help their clients for the time. I don't think we've seen an example of any sort of organisation that's knowingly putting barriers up. So the next couple of slides that we've got, I'm just going to really sort of take you very quickly through them. They really just illustrate that the banks that you're probably already using, the social investors you're already working with, want to try and find a way to help you. And obviously, this information will be on the downloads after this presentation, so you can use that as a resource to contact those as you need them. So, for instance, if you look at the Development Bank of Wales, they are currently offering a 3-month capital and fee repayment holiday for all customers, but again, that's on request. Royal Bank of Scotland, loan repayment holidays. Robert Owen Community Bank, they have an interruption loan scheme. So the key to this is whoever you currently work with is to contact them and to see what they're able to offer. Those organisations who are saying contact your relationship manager are basically forming bespoke responses in response to your inquiries. Okay, so they're there for you when you need them. Another good resource that we've been looking at and using quite a lot is goodfinance.org.uk. If you're not familiar with Good Finance, it's a UK-based organisation which effectively pools the knowledge and resources of the social investment providers across the UK. As a resource, I would definitely recommend using this hub. The guys in Good Finance have spent a lot of time also actively lobbying UK government to create funds for social enterprises, social businesses and charities. And I would definitely recommend looking at that one. It's been updated quite regularly, and last time we looked at it, the resources were great on there. Some of the funds that we know some of our clients are using, as well as Social Investment Cymru, are listed on these pages. Again, similar sort of message here: speak to them directly, see what they have available to offer. All of them want to try and help where they can. I would point out funding.cymru, Funding Wales, is a funding search platform created by Third Sector Support Wales. It's actually got a search category for coronavirus specific funding. I had a look at it yesterday. It only has 2 at the moment, but I suspect that might change as time goes on. It does require registration, but I think that's a really, really useful resource. Also, you've got things like cooperative and community finance, and a number of the wind farms. We know there's a lot more wind farms out there, and we're hoping to add more information to that as time goes on. So really, in summary, Social Business Wales and also Social Investment Cymru, we're here to help where we can. We've got a team of business administrators who are willing, ready and waiting to take your calls on 0300 111 50 50. We've got resources on our websites, wales.coop/COVID-19, Business Wales, Social Business Wales, COVID-19, and you can email us directly on spwinquiries@wales.coop. We are collating all of this information. We're sharing the generic information with WCVA and other organisations, but not necessarily the specific information. and we're using this to work with partners to coordinate the best response possible. The only other thing I'd like to say is that some of you as clients will receive a survey from Social Business Wales in the next few days. If you do receive it, can I ask you to fill it in, please? It'll only take 5 minutes. It's there to help us shape our services over the next couple of weeks and months to better understand exactly what you need and to focus our efforts on communicating your needs, initially to our business advisors, but then after that to governments at Wales and UK level, to local authorities, and also to funders. So please do fill that in. Thank you again for your listening today. There's information and guidance on the links here, and don't forget this will be available to download from wales.coop/COVID-19. Thank you very much.